So let's go ahead and just take a breath. This is going to be a very productive session for us today. So it's just going to take a few minutes for people to join. So as everybody comes in, go ahead and get settled in, get your coffee, get your notebook, or get your digital note-taking app up. I know some of you are a little more digital than I am. Good morning. Good morning. Oh, yeah. That's good. I got the chestnut praline is my go-to holiday latte drink from Starbucks. All right. It's 10. I know people are going to be joining us, but for the people who are on time, let's go ahead and get started. So again, thank you for joining. This is our very first in our Productivity Live Workshop series. And I'm really excited to create a community around productivity. And so we'll be doing goal setting exercises. Yay, Amy Kate, hi. Thank you for joining. Thank you. Thank you. I'm so excited to see you. Oh my gosh, this is going to be such a fun session. So get your notebook, get your digital note-taking app ready, whatever it is that you use. Personally, today, I'm going to be using one of our worksheets that we have. This is the goal setting productivity worksheet. So it's the goal setting worksheet and the calendar for the week. That's what I'm going to be working on. But anything you have is totally fine. Jeremy says, no waiting for the slow folks. Kelly, thank you for joining. Hi, Jeremy. Hi, Kelly. So excited to get started. Thank you for being with us today. So yes, get your coffee, get your notebook, because this is a working session. You're not here just to listen to me ramble. You're going to be doing the work along with all the rest of us. So as we know, the key to productivity is setting goals and planning. And this is realistic planning. So we'll talk about realistic planning as we go through the exercises together, because yes, there's exercises. But before we get started, I really want to hear from y'all. What is it that you're looking to get out of this productivity series? So why have you joined today? So please go ahead and put this in chat, because this is an important part of intention setting. And also, I think people love it to hear what everybody else is working on. Because again, one of the things we're doing is creating a community here. So I'd love to get everybody sharing a little bit about what it is that you're looking to get out of this workshop today and this series in general. So as you're thinking and typing, and there is a slight delay in chat, just so you know, if I'm slow to respond, it's just because there is a delay in chat. As much as I try to remove any delays, they happen. It's just technology. But I'll share with you what my goals are for doing this. One is to genuinely help people with productivity. This is a question I get a lot. Everybody, regardless of what their career is or where they are in life, everybody struggles with productivity. It's totally normal. But one of the things that we know helps is accountability and community. So my goal is to genuinely help people by doing this, because this is something that I've spent literally decades building a system for and just refining my own productivity throughout my life. And I think it's great to do this together. But my second goal is more selfish. I'm not altruistic. So if I can just be vulnerable for a second, ever since I left the corporate world, I've been missing that sense of community, because even though I have amazing family and friends who are incredibly supportive, it's kind of not the same as having coworkers. And so selfishly, one of the things I'm hoping to get is a little bit of community for myself as well, because I've got big goals, I've got big dreams, and it really helps to know people are along with me. So I want the same thing for myself that I'm hoping to give to you, if that makes any sense. So again, feel free to put in chat what you're looking to get out. I'm going to move my breakfast, so I'll stop crinkling. What you're hoping to get out of the session today, but also out of the series in general, because this is a weekly series. So go ahead and put that in chat. Nobody's putting it in chat. This is my serious face. If you're not comfortable sharing it with others, at least write it down in your notes, because I think setting that intention is super important. All right. So while you're thinking of that and possibly putting in chat for me, because I would love to kind of keep an eye on that as we go through this and make sure that I'm helping you with those kind of top level intentions as well. But let's go ahead and move into the first part of goal setting. It is the first of the month. So even though we're planning out our week, I think it's really important to keep an eye on what our top level goals are for the month. And so if you don't know what those goals are, you're not necessarily going to be doing the best plan week to week, right? Oh, good. Thank you so much. Jeremy says, I'm looking to figure out my top 3 important things for the week. Awesome, Jeremy. I love that. We're definitely going to be doing that. Excuse me. Kelly says, I get wrapped up in the details and never finish the important items. Kelly, that is so true. That is so normal for people. I think people get in the weeds. And I think that taking this weekly time to take that step back and up and look at the top level goals is the first step in being able to make sure that you've got your eye on the important items and a successful plan for making sure you get them done. I love that. Thank you for sharing, both of you. Oh, this is perfect. All right. So the first step is to make sure that you look ahead at the month and say, what are your top level goals for the month? And this is super high level. And this is part of that stepping back and looking at the whole forest, because then when we look at the week, we can make sure that what we're doing is in alignment with that. And if it's not, then we're going to have to do some work and dig in a little bit. So what are your 3 top level goals for December? And again, please have your journal, your workbook, or your digital note taking, because you've got to write this down, because this is something that you can look back on. But also, I'm just going to say, writing it down makes it real. So go ahead and write this down, your 3 top level goals for the month. And if you feel like sharing, go ahead and also drop them in chat. It's not mandatory, but I think it really helps people to know what everybody else is working on. While you're thinking of that and writing it down, I am going to share my 3 top level goals for the month. And mine are, I was thinking about this morning as I was getting ready for the session. My first one is obviously building my business. So my number 1 goal for the month is going to be building out my business. And so yeah, that's just the most important. My number 2 goal is to continue focusing on my health. I have been on a health journey. And again, I'm going to be transparent and vulnerable for everybody participating in the series. I recently have lost like 60 plus pounds, and that's been amazing, right? But as I've done that, I've had to make certain decisions, and now I'm looking at moving into maintenance mode. And so I want to make sure I've got a sustainable program. So getting out of like starting to transition into maintenance, which is increasing my calories again, continuing to have a sustainable gym plan that's focused more on building strength now than weight loss. And so making that transition is a little scary for me. I'm really intimidated by it, but health is my number 2 priority for myself. Very close to building the business, honestly. And then for me, for the month of December, my third one is a combo, and it is just, I really want to enjoy this holiday season. I love December. I personally love Christmas, but whatever holidays anybody celebrates, I think it's important to be intentional about how to have a good holiday season. And the reason I say that is because it's easy to get caught up in like the hustle and the bustle and thinking it's super important to, have the perfect presents or, run around and do the most activities. But to me, that's not enjoyable. And so my intention is to have an enjoyable holiday season, which means I might make different decisions. And so just keeping that in my head as my North Star is important. And it's a combo because it's enjoying the holiday season, but also deepening my relationships with my family. My family is really important to me. And while I don't have a big family, I have a very special family. And I think that, holiday season, deepening relationships is a good thing for me to keep my eye on. So hopefully while I've been talking about that, y'all have had a chance to jot down your 3 top goals for the month. And if you would like to share those like I just did, that'd be amazing. If you want to drop them into chat, if you're not comfortable with that, that's okay. Just make sure that you have them for yourself, because really this whole process is for you. So definitely jot down your 3 top level goals for the month, and then we'll come back to that. I would also love for you to really, if you don't mind, before we get into the details, I would love for you to do a quick visualization exercise, because I think this is an important part of making sure that we're on track and that our goals are aligned with what we really want. And so I'm going to take a moment and picture kind of like the ideal version of your life that you're building and the ideal version of you that you're building. And so for me, it's like having a picture of like what I'm doing, but like in a thematic sense, right? So I my ideal vision for myself is I'm this, successful business owner with a growing business, and I go to the gym and I have time in my life for friends and family. So that's my vision. It's not over planned. I don't want to be running around hustling and bustling too much. But if I know that that's my vision, then I can double check my goals and say, are my goals aligned with that vision? Are those the things that are going to build that life that I'm picturing for myself? And you might have a really fuzzy vision, you might have a super crisp vision, but always check your goals against that vision to make sure you're working in alignment with what you're trying to build for your life, because that's what we're doing. That's why we want to be productive, is we want to have this amazing life. Hopefully you've had a chance to think about that, because now we're going to get into a little more detail. This is a top-down exercise. So now we're going to go down into that next level of detail. So this is our first reflection question when it comes to goal setting. And again, the first part of this session today is going to be goal setting, and then we're going to move into actually planning out the week. But the goal setting is the next key step. So imagine it's the end of the week. What would make you feel the most accomplished or relieved? So yes, picture yourself at the end of the week. What is something, and it could be, 1 to 3 things, preferably one, but what is it that's going to make you feel the most accomplished or relieved? And while you think about that, I just want to reemphasize, this isn't just about work. Like, if you look at my monthly goals, some of it was work, but a lot of it was life. And the reason I'm doing that is you are trying to build an amazing life like I am. And that's everything. And so people also ask how to have work life balance. And the way you do that is to plan your week as a whole, not just work, right? So if your number one goal is work, then your number one reflection party is probably work related, but it may not be. You're a whole person. You're not just your work. So just think about that as you're thinking about this first reflection question, which is, imagine it's the end of the week. What would make you feel most accomplished or relieved? All right, Jeremy says, I promise I'm working along. I'm just not putting it here. Okay, good. Thank you, Jeremy. I appreciate that reassurance, because it is a little hard to be on like this side of the camera and not have everybody on camera with me so I could see your faces. Again, I do miss my conference calls at work. I love seeing everybody's faces while we go through kind of workshops and exercises. So, Jeremy, I really appreciate you saying that in chat. That helps me a lot. I'd love to know how much more time y'all need on this first question. Depending on how aligned you are with your goals, you may have already written them down, or you may still be working. So I'd love to get a little bit of an idea if you need more time for this first question, or if we're ready to move on. And while you're thinking about that, I'm going to share mine with you. And if y'all want to share, that's awesome. If you don't feel comfortable sharing, that's okay too. But as I asked myself this question, it became really clear to me that my two feeling accomplished things would be getting the rest of my products up on my Etsy shop. I have 2 more things that are mostly ready to go that I need to finish the listings for. And they are time sensitive because it's an end of year reflection and a holiday pack. And then getting my Christmas tree up. I just realized, and those are aligned with my goals, right? Building the business and having a good holiday season. So those are my big 2, feeling accomplished or relieved. And again, this is just the first reflection question. So don't worry, you're not going to miss on other goals. All right. I'm going to move on to the next reflection question. If you need a little bit more time, ping me and I'll stop talking. Otherwise, I'm moving on to the next reflection question. What is one urgent task you need to handle this week? And what is one important but not urgent goal you can work on? And you can think about these across all three of your monthly goals if they're in different dimensions. So you can have a few on here across those different things if you think of them as categories, or you can just limit it to one or two. Totally whatever feels right for you, to be honest. And these are in addition to the first question. So don't feel like you are like having to choose. These are in addition. And the point of doing the questions this way is just to give yourself clarity. And if some of you already have clarity on your goals, that's awesome. I think December is such a challenging month because end of year can bring a lot of, frankly, annoying and somewhat unexpected responsibilities at work, depending on your level. End of year can be a huge time. And then it is the holiday season, and we have a lot of family commitments. And so, one of the things I want us all to get out of it is just not lose ourselves in this process and make sure that we're honoring ourselves and having a realistic plan so we can keep all of our commitments without losing what's important. So, one urgent task you need to handle this week, and one important but not urgent goal. So, hopefully, y'all have had time to jot those down. If you need another minute, that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and share what mine are. And I am working on my little worksheet. I'm actually quite enjoying this. And I'm a paper girly. I love writing things down on paper. For me, if I do it digitally, it's just off in the ether and it's out of my head. And unfortunately, that is a recipe for disaster for me. I won't actually do it if I do it that way, unfortunately. But that's just me. Okay, so one urgent task I need to handle this week is my Patreon rewards for December. So I have something that I'm ready to post for my Patreon supporters, and then there's something I want to do later in the month, and so I need to make my plan for that. So my goal for this one is to make sure I have a plan for my Patreon rewards and post the one that's ready to go. So it's both things. It's doing the thing and making the plan later this week. And then my important but not urgent goal is I'm close to done on a book I'm doing, meaning I'm doing some final edits and I need to get it ready basically to go. And so I think that is my important but not urgent task for this week, is just really getting that packaged up and doing my final edits on that. That'll be that for the book. Okay, that's our second reflection question. I'm going to move on to the third reflection question. This is for goal setting, and I hope it's helping, bring clarity to kind of those top level things, because it is easy to get caught up in the weeds or just not have that clarity. So the whole point is to get yourself clarity. So the third reflection question is there something you've been putting off? I think for a lot of us, there's probably something we're putting off. This, again, could be work, it could be personal. Just think about your 3 goals for the month. And if some of the things you're writing down don't align with your 3 goals for the month, let me know, because then we can take some time and workshop that. We can go back and make sure that's aligned. Amy says, me too. Okay, thanks, Amy. Is there something you've been putting off? And what small step could you take this week to start addressing it? And this is where I am going to do my first true alignment question, which is that if you've been putting it off, is it aligned with your 3 December goals? And if it's not, do you actually have to do it? Because if you don't, then take it off your list. And the reason I say that is because one of the barriers to productivity, very honestly, is we have a lot of things in our head that we think we should do. And the whole point of goal setting and then aligning the tasks to the goals is getting clarity on, should you be doing that thing? maybe what you should do is take it off your list, because we have thousands of shoulds in our head, and those tend to drag us down and make us feel bad and drain our energy. Get rid of them if you don't actually need to be doing it. If it's not aligned with your goals, why is it on the list? Or are your goals wrong? This is an important step in this reflection process. Jeremy says, one of the things I first thought of as an urgent task isn't really aligned with my goals, but does need to be done. Jeremy, if you want to add to that, then I can help you think through that a little bit more. There are some things in life that we have to do just because they're maintenance activities. If it's a work thing and work isn't one of your goals, then but if it's time sensitive, like it has to be done this week, okay. So I'd love to know more about that so we can talk through it a little bit. Kelly says, I love that reminder. I've been putting off a couple minor tasks that aren't aligned with my goals, but have been taking up mental space. Yes, girl, give yourself permission to set those down. Just get rid of them. We don't need to do everything we should do. And a lot of the shoulds are external. They're things other people think we should be doing. For example, I'm going to say that, part of me being healthy, and I haven't written this down, but is cooking for myself. So one of my goals for this week is I want to cook twice. Someone might say, well, Gabby, you should go in store to the grocery store. And I'm like, no, I should just get groceries. That's what I should do. You don't need to listen to other people's shoulds either. So Jeremy says it's a work thing, but not related to my specific work goal for the month, just a monthly requirement. Okay, yeah, that's fair. Then yeah, you definitely keep it on the list. If it's a requirement, then yeah, like not losing your job, I think, is a fundamental goal. And so I think that, and I'm not being facetious when I say that, I'm saying, yeah, there's certain work things that you have to do that may not be aligned with your specific monthly goals. And that's okay. That's a good example, Jeremy. So thanks for sharing that, because that's a good example that, yeah, of course, there's going to be things on your to-do list that, are kind of table stakes for your job, and that's okay. But call them out and know that you have to do that this week, because as we plan out the week, then you can balance your kind of have to do activities with your goals and see what fits. So yeah, that's a really good reminder, Jeremy. Oh, is there something I've been putting off? Here I am not even following my own process. Well, do I put things off? Do I? Yes. And it is booking a trip to see my niece. And fortunately, I took a huge step yesterday. My sister had a great conversation about, like, are we really doing this and what are the dates? And so, yeah, this week, hopefully today, I actually need to go ahead and book the trip itself. And that is related to my goal of deepening relationships with family. So what small step could you take this week to start addressing it? And yeah, today I just need to buy the plane tickets. Okay. So that's mine on reflection. And I'm giving you guys a little extra time on this reflection because I do want you to figure out, what that goal alignment is. And if it's not aligned with your goals, very helpful example from Jeremy that, yeah, you may still have to do it anyway. So make sure it's on your list, but otherwise take it off. Oh my gosh, my Starbucks cup is leaking. But you know what? We can all use a little more warmth right now. It's a cold December. All right. So the next step is take your thoughts from above and write down specific goals from the thoughts. And so this is where you kind of bring it all together. This isn't the calendar. So we're at the bottom of this worksheet and we are not on a calendar yet. This is where we're now getting to that next level of detail. So of these kind of like things you just brainstormed, you're going to turn them into specific goals that you're committing to. So this is, what are you committing to do this week based on the goals you just set? Okay. And then once you write down the high level goal underneath, you're going to write your action item for that goal. Does that make sense? Let me know if that's not tracking, but you're going to write down the specific commitment for a goal from what you just wrote down for your week. And then underneath that, you're going to write down what activities that you need to do for that goal for this week. And so maybe it's a broader goal that you can't finish the whole goal this week. What are you going to do to make progress on it this week? And this is the commitment part. This is where you're saying, yes, this is my goal. I mean it. Here's the 1 to 3 activities or tasks I need to do for that goal. This is that step. And so this is the last step in goal setting, and then we'll actually move into the planning part, which is my favorite. And if you're just joining, welcome and thanks for joining. And we are working in your journal, your online digital notes app, or on our worksheet if you guys have the worksheet. And the task under each goal should be something that you can calendar if you wish. So that's the kind of level of detail of the task itself. Is it something you should be able to calendar? Jeremy says the mic is picking up me doing stuff on the table, and I think I just got a text about that too. Yeah, I'm writing on my paper. Is it bad? Thank you. Is it distracting? I'm working too. Try and write quieter. Jeremy says it's very loud. Okay, sorry, Jeremy. Sorry, everyone. I might have to switch to the digital note taking. And as you write down the action items that go with each goal, just definitely sanity check that they're realistic. You know, especially knowing what we just said, that December tends to be a super busy month. So is your action item realistic for you? All right. And then how are we doing? Do you need more time for this portion? I'm not trying to rush you at all. I just don't, I know everybody has a different pace. So I just need to know if you guys need more time or if we're ready to move in the next step. All right, Amy says all good to go on. And since Amy spoke up, Amy's the decider. All right. And if any of you want to share your goals and action items in the chat, would love that. Not required at all. So I took all of the things I'd written up here and then I jotted them down here in my very messy handwriting. So for my December, yeah, Amy's like, woo, the boss. For my December Etsy, I'm going to list my 2 remaining items this week. And then I'm going to check on my ads. I did start my Etsy ads running and I'm going to check on those and see if I need to like tweak anything in the campaigns and also see if my 2 items get added to the campaign. And then for my holiday goal, specifically what I'm going to do this week is set up and decorate my tree. For my Patreon goal, I'm going to post my December reward this week and then make my specific plan for the second reward. And then I'm going to finish editing my book. And for health, I'm going to cook at home twice and I'm going to go to the gym 3 times. Now I have to decide. I did go to the gym this morning, so I have to decide if that counts for my one of my 3 times for this week. I don't know. All right, so those are mine. And again, if y'all want to share, happy to hear what you have in store. And then next week, I'm actually really excited to do this because in next week's session, what we'll do is start by celebrating our wins from the week. And so anything that you put as a goal that you accomplished next week, we get to celebrate those at the beginning of the session. Amy says it counts. Thank you, Amy. It was a good gym session too. I even did the sauna. So, all right. So next we're going to work on putting those into the week. And so if you have a calendar, use it. If you have something you just want to jot down in your notes, if you really like my fun week at a glance, it's up on the Etsy and the link is in the description for the live if you want to hop out there. So what we're going to do is take our tasks and put them on a day of the week. And before you jump into your work calendar and do this, I want to talk about calendaring really quick. So the reason I do this separate from my work calendar is because if it doesn't have a time associated with it, like I'm going to do this at 3:00, I don't put it on my work calendar. I keep it on a separate list. And here's why. For most of us, if you have your everything on one calendar, totally fine, right? Like I'm not trying to make a complicated system, but if you have a bunch of stuff that doesn't have a designated time and it goes into that block at the top of the day, if there's more than one thing up there, most people are actually less likely to do that thing. Your day gets full. And if you're looking at the calendar, your brain actually starts to filter out the stuff that doesn't have a time associated with it. And if you are used to not getting your goals done, I'm just going to be really blunt about this. Your brain has decided that's okay. Your brain has decided it's okay for me to tune out the stuff at the top that doesn't have a time. So if you want to calendar the things from the list we just made, the goals and the activities, the action items, if you want to calendar them with a time, you can put it on your work calendar so you make sure you don't block over that time. If you can't give it a time, then I say keep it on this separate list, because then when you look at your week at a glance, because you should be checking in with yourself throughout the week. How am I doing with what I said I was going to get done this week? And to Kelly's point, this is what gets you out of the weeds and into how am I tracking towards my goals, is to keep a higher level list for the week. This is my system. This is what I do, is I have my day-to-day meetings, all that jazz, but my higher level weekly goals, action items, I do keep separate unless it has a specific time. So let's use an example of that. Is, let's say that you have been putting off making doctor's appointments, calendar making doctor's appointments, meaning Monday, Wednesday, or Friday, set aside a block of 30 minutes, an hour to do things like making appointments and doing housekeeping type stuff. That can go on your calendar, and then don't schedule over it. And so I might calendar, okay, Tuesday at 2, I'm going to make my plan for Patreon. I'm not, because I'm spending the afternoon doing something to support my family. So excited about that. But does that make sense? So that's the reason we have this separate calendar. Sam says compartmentalize the calendars. Love this. Exactly, right? You've got your day-to-day grind, and then you've got your, this is what I'm doing for myself, and I'm going to check in with that at a higher level periodically. Okay, so I've said that if you don't have this and you're like, where am I writing this down? Just write it down in your journal or in your notes and just put the day of the week, and then put, okay, on Monday, that's when I'm going to do this action item. On Tuesday, that's when I'm going to do this one. This also gives you flexibility because your week is going to vary and you can move things around if you need to. Like, you need to, inspect and adapt, as we always say in the agile world. And this gives you the flexibility to do that. You can move things to a different day if your day blows up, but the important thing is that you don't lose it in the week, right? The important thing is this is your goal for the week. Doesn't matter which day you do it, as long as you do it. And so then you don't have to beat yourself up if Monday blows up and you have to move it to Tuesday, as long as you don't move it throughout the week. So take your action items, jot them down on your days. And I'm going to give you a few minutes to do that. This is going to be a little more time consuming. And you might pull up your work calendar and just see how busy those days are. And then, that helps you lay out these action items you set throughout your week. You do have to take that into account. I'm also going to take this opportunity to plug something I do, which is feel free to curate your work calendar as well. Now that you know your goals and some of them are work related, I would definitely revisit my work calendar and say, which things have to be this week, or even which things have to be in December? because it's true that sometimes our calendars get filled up with nonsense and they don't align with our professional goals, for example. They're just, frankly, sometimes busy work that we've accepted. And so one of the things I do as part of my own weekly planning is I do take a critical eye towards my meetings for the week, and I get rid of some of them or I rebalance them because balance is important. And if I've got 2 days that are just horrific and some things can move, I move them. Because one of the things that helps you be productive is making sure you've got space in your day. And if you're back to back, I would really challenge that and maybe say, take a look at moving some things. So pull up your work calendar as you go through this exercise and balance your days. And also feel free to curate your work calendar. I'm going to go on mute because I want to do this exercise too. And since my pen is so loud on the mic, I don't want to drive you guys nuts. So I'm going to go on mute for a hot second. If you see my mouth moving later, remind me to unmute my microphone. This is also a good time to plan out your gym days. For me, I don't like to go on Monday. Monday is like the worst day at my gym. And so I just kind of give myself Monday off. But I took Thanksgiving off. And so I might go Monday anyway. But just keep those things in mind as you're looking at which days make sense for your gym time. All right. How's the calendar exercise going? Are you guys still working on that? One thing I would ask you guys to keep in mind is everybody's starting at a different level of productivity, right? Which is just getting the things done that are important to you, leading, doing the things that are building this life that you were envisioning at the beginning of the session. Everybody has a different level of productivity that they're starting at and that they want to get to, because not everybody wants to get to the same level of productivity. Like your ideal life doesn't look the same as everybody else's. For me, I like to just do stuff. I like to make stuff. So my level of producing is always going to be high because that's the most important thing to me is to make stuff, but that may not be you and that's okay. So just really think through kind of where you are and where you want to be and be honest. Like if you're earlier in this journey and maybe you've been able to get 2 things done a week that are on your list, don't try and go to 15, right? So when I say let's be realistic about curating the things you're doing in a week, make sure that you're looking back and saying, okay, I want to be improving my productivity, but it needs to be an incremental improvement. Don't expect to suddenly be perfect next week if you've been struggling with it. So just make sure you're incrementally improving. So your goal might be, I want to make sure that I finish one of my higher level goals and I'm slightly less bogged down in the details, right? Or Jeremy might be like, well, I have to do this mandatory thing and then I want to do the thing I've been putting off. So just make sure that it's an incremental improvement that you're trying to do every week. Um, Otherwise, it can just be overwhelming if you're trying to do everything at once or trying to improve too much at once. So that would just be my one guidance. All right. Jeremy says scheduled and Kelly says calendar ready. Congratulations. Good job. I'm excited. Amy and Sam, if y'all are still with us, I'd love to know how you're doing on the calendaring exercise as well. And then if you're working in the worksheet, you can follow along on here. But if you're not, I also just want you to take a moment because as you've done this and you've worked on your goals and priorities, on the worksheet, we also have this health and fitness grid separate from the days of the week, just in case you're doing, a lot and you want to keep that separate. You can put on here, your water intake goals. You can put on here, which days of the week you're going to the gym, which days of the week you're cooking. Some people meal prep. So anyway, so feel free to use like health and fitness as a separate place. I should have said that earlier. Sam says ready. Yay. Thank you, Sam. All right, so that's the calendaring and scheduling section. So this is our first one, right? So we started with intention setting, a little bit of envisioning our life future, and then we went through top-down goal setting, goals for the month, and then goals for the week, and then activities for those goals, and calendared them. Next week, we're going to check back in at the exact same time. And so next week, we're going to celebrate our wins for the goals we did. We're also going to do a little kind of mini retrospective back on the week on like what worked well and bring learnings forward. So then we can plan the following week. So again, if you're working in the worksheet, the looking back is here on the bottom. So feel free to fill in some of your learnings as you go through the week and bring those to us next week. I would love to hear as you're working your plan this week. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are and your realizations. So either on the worksheet or in your notebook, jot them down as you go. Like, oops, I did overplan Monday. You know what I mean? And so just kind of like keep track of your learnings throughout the week. And even if you don't, we will have time to do that in next week's session. So next week's session is going to be structured a little bit differently because this is our first. Next week, we can celebrate our wins, talk about our learnings, check in on how we're doing on our capacity for productivity a little bit, and then leverage those learnings to set the goals for then week 2 of December and make the schedule for that. Any questions or final thoughts? Like, is there anything that we've left undone from your perspective or unresolved? I'd love to know. And I did show the hot pink version of the goal planning worksheet. If you like it, the goal planning worksheet is on Etsy, but the hot pink one is on Patreon. So if you've enjoyed this session, I would love it if you want to become a Patreon supporter. The link is in the description below. You can support at any membership tier, and that gets you access to a unique or just a free version of some of the stuff that's up on Etsy. So for example, the hot pink one's only available to Patreon supporters, but the lighter pink one's available on Etsy and that one's fun too. So yeah, if you enjoyed this, would love the support on Patreon, and I will see you all next week. I hope this was helpful, and I can't wait to hear how your weeks go. And as you go through the week and as you look back on the session, if you have any feedback about this process, happy to refine the system to make sure it works for everybody as well. Thank you so much. I hope everybody has a super productive week, and I will see you next Sunday. Thanks all. Bye.